So I'm Bruce Maholsky. I live in a little house in Dunedin, quite close to the centre of town, and I set up a museum there in my house in 2018. Takes up most of the house, and you can also stay there at the back of the house. I've got Airbnb, so you can spend the night at the museum. And people often ask me, why set up a museum in your house? What motivated you to do that? And I guess there's a number of answers. One is the Power Shell House in Bluff. There was an old couple, Fred and Myrtle Flutie, and when they retired around about 1970s, they basically sort of turned over their house to the public, and you could go in there, and the whole interior of the house was covered in power shells and other shells and sort of Kiwiana kitsch. Part of the attraction was Fred and Myrtle themselves, who were lovely people. And so I thought, it'd be great to do something unpretentious and friendly, and in Dunedin, where I'm originally from. So at the time I thought of the museum, it was probably about 10 years ago. I was living in Wellington, and I'd always wanted to work in a museum. I have had various associations with museums over the years as part of my work. 10 years ago I went overseas and I went to a museum in London called the Victor Wynne Gallery. And it's downstairs, a couple of rooms in Hackney. And there's a guy called Victor who set up an amazing museum, very, very similar to mine, and that what Victor collects is skulls, ethnic art, ethnological art, so art from the Pacific and Africa, but also very sort of strange, interesting artifacts relating to sort of popular culture. And he's also interested in the paranormal. So I thought, Victor can set up a little museum downstairs in a basement in Hackney in London. Maybe I could do the same thing in Dunedin, but try and go for a sort of slightly more unpretentious thing. And I don't want it to be shocking. I'd like families to come here and feel comfortable. So that's why I set up the museum. So it's been here a couple of years, and it's open the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So interested in unusual things, come along. This is my favourite cabinet, this one. Some lovely stuff in here. This is interesting. This is George Bush chasing Osama bin Laden, and it was bought by a friend of mine in Kuwait during the Gulf War. And it comes on a little circular track, and they've both got magnets in. So if you put Osama in front of Bush, the magnet repels him away, so Bush can never quite catch Osama. So I had this friend who was a photographer during the Gulf War, and I got some interesting things from him. Bone hunting and painting walls are my two favourite things to do. So I'd paint walls for free. In fact, I do often paint walls for free because I just enjoy it so much. I don't think I'm like a great painter or anything, I just enjoy it, and I like painting animals. This mural is really a tribute to my father. It's just down the road from the museum, and it's a couple of badgers. He really loved badgers, and the first date he took my mum on was badger watching. So it's a mural called Revenge of the Ocean, which is a lot of like evil looking fish, both real and imaginary, diving at the cars that are coming out towards the Tiger Peninsula, partly based on the cover of the Chills album, Silver Bullets, which I did the artwork for, and partly made up on the spot. People often say, well, what got you started making art out of bones is another question I get frequently. And I guess in the whole history of my art career, so I had my first exhibition in 1996, there's been a number of themes, and predominant themes have really been that I want people to see themselves as part of nature rather than separate from it. And by having this large collection of bones and making art from them, I'm trying to sort of like to show people that the bone of a dog or a rat or a cat or a pig or whatever is very, very similar to the same bone as a human. And by integrating all sorts of species together, I hope to try and put humans back in the mix. That we're not separate from nature, we're part of it. We're just an animal. We need to sort of step up to being an animal rather than using that as like a pejorative term, stop being an animal, like being an animal is a bad thing. So that's one thing. I'd like to get people to accept their animals. Secondly, I'd like people to accept that bones are not negative. Bones are about life to me. If you're walking around on Mars and you found a bone, you wouldn't think, oh, that's sad, something died. You think, oh, amazing, something's lived here before me, and you feel a big sense of connection to life, to being alive. And so I try and make art that looks like it's alive, that looks like it's growing. And so I try and get people to accept that bones are not necessarily associated with death, they're associated with life. And I guess my third thing that I've always been passionate about is that in New Zealand we kill a lot of animals, obviously both for food, but also we call pest control, so possums and rabbits, other animals, wallabies, we kill them in their thousands. And these animals are really not treated as sort of sentient beings, and their skins and carcasses are just wasted. And I hate waste, I abhor it. And so part of going around the country picking up rabbit bones and possum bones and wallaby bones is me trying to sort of recycle and so give these animals some honour and some purpose. And so that's another sort of reason I like making art out of bones.